Alright, so today I was able to obtain a Pokemon Go Plus accessory. In some ways I was surprised that I was able to get it so quickly. I pre-ordered this on Amazon and was surprised that they gave me a free upgrade, it seems, for a release date delivery. The delivery person came really early in the morning too. So, of course I wanted to test this thing out during my day. I was very keen in trying this as there are plenty of times where I would like to just walk and hatch eggs during my regular activities without having to have this game opened up all the time. It would save me both battery power and allow me to multitask. I won't go too into detail with the unboxing and all, but as you can see, there is only the Pokemon Go Plus accessory, the wristband, and the manual. You then need to pull out this small strip to enable the battery to make contact with the device. The setup seemed relatively straightforward, minus the confusion where clicking on the Pokemon Go Plus title brings you to its site. Once you have everything set up, the game will display this image on the top left of the screen. You then need to click on that icon and the button on the accessory to activate it. I was really curious to see how this was, as I have heard so many people say that the catch rate was horrible or that it doesn't work without the game being actively on. Recently I just hit level 30 as well, so this would be a good test as apparently this is the soft level cap for the game. Funny enough, for myself the first few Pokemon I encountered were always successful in terms of being caught. It wasn't just weak ones either, as some seemed kinda decent. Now usually the way I play this game during my regular walks is that when a Pokemon pops up, I would quickly look down on the phone, tap it to start the catching, and throw the Pokeball. Afterwards, I would just look back up away from the phone and give it a few seconds before looking back down to see if I caught it. Again, I usually just keep on walking as the game shouldn't stop me from going about with my regular day. Sometimes this can cause me to lose a lot of experience from Pokestops too, where if the Pokemon keeps breaking out, then I continuously try to catch it while still walking. This can mean that I have passed a few Pokestops or Pokemon in the process. So for a person like myself, I thought this Plus accessory would be ideal for me. For my test so far, it seems to work almost perfect in that regards. As you can see, I can pretty much just keep walking without the need to constantly stare at the screen. What I did notice though is that there seems to be a delay in many ways as to when the Plus accessory would register the Pokemon or Pokestop for you to click on. Just an example, I went to a spot with a triple lure and you can't just exactly press the button every second to catch everything in sight. In fact, in some cases, the accessory doesn't seem too smart. As an example, I began to walk and this Pokemon pops up. Now normally if I see a Pokemon on the map, I would just tap it and keep walking as I try to catch it. In this case, the accessory never even triggered to catch the Pokemon and I eventually just walked too far from it. So this shows that you can often miss Pokemon if you are just relying on this. At the same time, this thing isn't too ideal if you're the type of player who just sits in one spot and farms. There was actually one useful and practical use of this accessory when you are hunting for rare Pokemon. Today I noticed a Tentacruel popped up, which I didn't have, so I decided to look for it. Now usually when I'm trying to hunt for rare Pokemon and the game says I'm close to it, I tend to ignore the Pokemon that I already have. I don't want to risk going into the catching mode with that Pokemon where I have to say stand still and waste time with it. Otherwise I may walk right past a rare one or the time could expire. But in this case, the Plus accessory allowed me to catch the other Pokemon and stops without fear that I would overlook or pass the rare spawn. So that is definitely a practical use for this. My main point in buying this was to hopefully find a way where I could hatch the eggs without the need to always be on the game's screen. From my tests, that definitely seems to work perfectly. Just as a crazy example, I walked past this car crash, which you can see here. Now as you can see, I went to my phone's camera with the game in the background. From what I can tell, the Plus accessory was still registering the distance as I did this. As a more specific test, I went to the busy area in the city where there are often a ton of Pokestops with lures. I was going to walk to this large landmark as my test where I would have the game running in the background while using my phone's camera. The Plus accessory was activating a lot. If it lights up blue, then that seems to indicate that there's a Pokestop that you can collect. If it lights up green, then that indicates that there is a Pokemon to catch. Afterwards, if you press the button, a white light will flash and vibrate up to 3 sessions, which seems to be mimicking as if you threw a Pokeball at a Pokemon in the game. If you catch it, then it lights up repeatedly as you can see. If you fail to catch it, it goes red. Ultimately, I did reach the end point and you can see it definitely works. Does it work if the phone is completely in standby? I did this as a test too. Again, it seems to work perfect as I was walking along the seawall here and was catching Pokemon and Pokestops whenever the accessory vibrated. Funny enough, at the end of the point I went to as intended for the test, a Dratini popped up. That's where I had to think. Should I use the Pokemon Go Plus accessory to catch it, or should I manually catch it with berries and an Ultra Ball? I decided to go with the manual route since Dratinis are rare for me. One thing a little annoying about this though is that you will notice here that if you manually go into the catching mode, the accessory disconnects. So you have to reconnect it each time. The same thing happens if you do this by going into gym battles. A lot of people were saying before that you don't get experience or Stardust from catching Pokemon this way. For my tests, you do indeed get 100 experience per catch. As well, you seem to get 25 experience for failed catches. Now the Stardust is an interesting issue. At first I thought everyone was right where you don't get Stardust from catching Pokemon this way, as every time I checked the number didn't go up. However, what I did notice was that whenever I had to reboot the game, my Stardust count would magically go up. So I started to do tests where each time I caught a Pokemon, I would reboot the game. Every time I did this, the amount would accurately reflect what you would normally get per Pokemon. I did this a few times in different ways, such as walking and catching for a while, and each time it was accurate. Lastly, was it good for walking tracking? From what I tried so far, it seems great. I haven't been able to do full tests, but the distance seems more accurate. I did test it by going high speeds too, and like before, it didn't seem to register if you go too fast. Overall, I find it very useful. It actually gave me ideas on how you can get a ton of experience even as a more serious gamer if that was your main personal intention of getting this. Though in my opinion, this is really meant for people who want to keep going in their commute while still in a sense playing the game. Is it worth the price tag? In some ways I do think it's pretty expensive honestly, but for myself, it's a fun add-on. Feel free to ask me any questions you have about this as well.